Hey, what up, everybody? YouTube Live. This is Rama Screen covering movies, TV, and entertainment. Today's Friday afternoon, April 5th, 2019. I am about to head out to Burbank to Walt Disney Studios. But before I go and do that, I want to give you my live review of today's all new Doom Patrol episode. Am I the only one who likes this show? Because it seems that when I uh, did live reviews for Titans, remember Titans, the live action series Titans last fall? You guys are like, oh my god, Robin and freaking Raven oh yeah, I can't, I love Titans, and you guys are, but Doom would there doesn't seem to be enough love for Doom Patrol. If I go to IMDb on the critics section, sometimes I usually just find me uh, posting my review of Doom Patrol. But if you go to Titans, there'll be lots of other critics chiming in. So I'm like, okay, I see it. It seems that people in general have more affinity or fondness toward Titans compared to Doom Patrol, and I get it. I'm one of the many out there who did not grow up reading Doom Patrol comic books. I'm still learning as I go right now. But as I read up more about it, um, either on DC Wiki or the regular wiki, oh man, the more fascinated I get, man, of this property and these characters. Um, I mean, just the fact that Mister Nobody is such a peculiar villain, like he's so all powerful. He can get you to do things like Kilgrave does, but you can't really. He can disappear, so you can't really locate Mister Nobody. Um, and he'll break the fourth wall and say some the funniest shit ever. Like that one episode when he turned the cops into like pinatas. I was like, what? That is so kooky. Uh, so bizarre. What villains out there would just turn cops into pinatas, and he would command the people around them to smash them like you would a pinata. Um. So yeah, man. The more I read up about Mister Nobody and Doom Patrol, I'm like, I wasn't here last week, so I wasn't able to do the review for Doom Patrol season 1 episode 7 because obviously I was at WonderCon in Anaheim covering the event the whole weekend. So I apologize. I did not get to do a review of Doom Patrol season 1 episode 7. But after having seen that episode, I've watched it, by the way. It was pretty it was a group therapy session, so you get to see more of the backstories of each of the characters. That's fine, you get to know more of the characters. You get to the idea is for you to actually feel for what they struggle through, and so if there's anything happens to them, joy or sadness or death scene, God forbid, that you that the loss or the impact of that scene would 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 be all the more lasting for you as fans of the show. So I get it. I get the idea of group therapy, but at the same time, it was more or less a filler episode. Um, as a matter of fact, like I mentioned to you before, like this whole thing with Doom Patrol, every episode now it's been about existential soul journey, and I'm like, dude, Niles is still missing. Come on. Can you guys get over your shit already and just be a team already? Come on. But here's the thing. Here's what's funny. Because in that group therapy episode last week, by the end of it, you see a rat coming out of Robot Man because the rat uh, enacts revenge on Robot Man, and Mr. Nobody talks to the rats like, "Oh, come on, you guys, you critters can do revenge too." And that really cracks me up so much so that I think I've gotten to the place where I don't mind if the episode continues to be existential soul journey, um, including today's episode. Still, they haven't found Niles. Niles is still missing. Um, so I would understand if you and I would be annoyed, would be irritated. It's like, oh, again, another episode of this, exploring one's backstory or one's personal demons. How many more of this do we have to go through? I understand if you're upset or irritated by it. I would be too. A part of me would. Uh, but at the same time, including today's episode, after that whole rat thing is just so bizarre that now I've gotten to the point where I am actually curious. I'm actually curious to see more bizarre stuff. It's like, bring it on, Doom Patrol. You've bombarded us with bizarre stuff for the past 7 episodes. So might as well do another one. I think maybe you can call it. We've reached the point of gluttony for bizarreness, gluttony for punishment, if you will. Um, but as much as the whole mulligan of finding Niles and Sheaf is still lingering, over there, or that's the overarching arc. I'm like, after today's episode too, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I'm not bored by it. I'm not, I'm not angry. I'm not giving up on the show. I'm like, wow, we get to see another one of the 64 personalities of Crazy Jane. We get to see, the pairing of Victor and Larry. So apparently, there's still more layers to peel about them, and I'm not at that point where I'm sick and tired yet. I thought I would be. I thought I would reach that point by now, but I think I haven't. So here's what happens in today's episode. I'm gonna give you a context, and then I'm gonna give you my thoughts about it. But just a quick heads up, just with most of my TV reviews and episode recaps, this too contains spoilers. So heads up, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. This review or this video is mainly for those of you, my fellow Doom Patrol fans, who have also watched today's episode. So there are two plot lines going on in this episode, two arcs. Victor and Larry get paired up. Um, they uh, are following a lead that leads them to this place. Um, I believe the place is called Danny, where it says like, "Hey, go to Danny Street in Ohio." And Vic's like, "Wow, there's no Danny Street in Ohio." So so Vic and Larry go there, and they find Danny Street, and it's the weirdest thing ever. And it takes them to this club. Let's call it club of transgender club, trans club, if you will. And so a lot of trans performers, and the head honcho of that place, his name is, oh, I can't believe it escapes me right now. It'll come back soon. Maybe I'll look it up here. So he said he's one of the performers, or she, if you will. So she tells Larry and Vic, like, "Oh, we got two guests here. And what are you looking for?" It's like, "Oh, we were curious about this Danny Street that on this cake. Do you know anything about Niles? Oh, why don't you ask Danny? Where's Danny?" It's like, "Danny is all around you. Danny's everywhere. Then Danny's here. Danny's this town. Then Danny is the street." And so from that point on, they start asking a question, and a writing would show up, either, I don't know, on a monitor or on the street light, whatever, right? And that's Danny responding to Larry and Vic. So if you look up uh, the synopsis of today's episode, it says A sentient, genderqueer, teleporting street kid named Danny, who's being hunted by the secret Bureau of Normalcy, needs help from Niles, but gets Victor and Larry instead. So we never actually get to see this Danny. This Danny doesn't have an appearance, or a body or a face. He speaks through, like I said, the writings on the wall, on the monitors, what have you, and that's how he responds to Larry and Vic. And the leader of that club, let me get that name. I can't believe I don't have the name in front of me here. She used to be part of the Bureau of Normalcy. Now it's like, what is that, Rama? What's Bureau of Normalcy? Bureau of Normalcy is a government agent, and this is what's weird. So their task is to hunt down out of the ordinary stuff, right? But they're jackasses. They're assholes. They're like Fox and Mulder if Fox and Mulder were dicks, because in their minds, transgender, queer, or non-binary people, those are the targets too, because to them that's not part of normalcy. That's an abomination, something abhorrent to them. So the agents in this Bureau of Normalcy previously had an encounter with Larry Trainer back in the day, because, as you know, Larry has that radioactive thing inside him, so that made him abnormal. And so now back to the present day, they're hunting down this Peep Show club. It's called Peep Show, I believe. And so that's pretty much the context of this first arc. Um, and at one point, I kid you not, freaking Larry dreams of singing on the stage in that Peep Show club. They had this whole big song and dance number, and very lavish too, very, very well choreographed. Now, if you remember, or if you recall, Larry, or Negative Man, is played by actor Matt Bomer. Actor Matt Bomer, who starred in one of my favorite USA Network series called White Collar for many years. And Matt Bomer is gay in real life, I believe, and he also sings really well. As a matter of fact, Matt Bomer shows up on an episode or a few episodes of Glee. Remember Glee, the musical theater teen shows on Fox? Matt Bomer guest starred or guest appeared on that one, and did a couple of songs as well, performed with, I think, Darren Chris. So to see Larry, or Matt Bomer playing Larry, singing on that stage in the club, and with a catchy song, I forgot the title of it. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense, because if you have a talented singer like Larry, oh, I'm sorry, talented singer like Matt Bomer in your midst as part of your cast, if you're the writers, you'd be like, hey, we should totally give Matt Bomer at least a scene of song and dance number. Like, yeah, like if you cast, I don't know, Bruce Willis, for example. If you cast Bruce Willis in your movie, you gotta have him do an action sequence. You can't just have him do drama shit or like dialogue shit. You gotta have him punch. You gotta have him punch somebody, or sock somebody in the face. So when Matt Bomer sings in this episode, I'm like, yeah, 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 and you can tell because it's a dream, right? It's a dream. So Larry turns into Matt. He has his Larry's face back again, played by Matt Bomer. With a nice suit. It's a tux actually, with bow tie, and it takes you back again to White Collar series when Matt Bomer was like so sleek and sharp, wearing suit all the time. And so my thought to all that was like, yeah, that's cool. That's Matt Bomer in his element. He's you can tell he's you can tell he's very comfortable doing that scene. Um, but this episode is, here's the thing, you know, regarding Doom Patrol. Even though it has been renewed for second season, I believe it has been renewed for second season. You guys can look it up. Let me know if I'm wrong. But the writers seem to include arcs from the comic books, at least from what I've read. Uh, they would incorporate them into one episode and the next episode, when those arcs actually by themselves, each of them can actually be a long arc for a season. What I'm trying to say, or what I'm getting at, is that, instead of saving it for like an this long arc for season two, they're like, hey, let's just put this in this episode, because we'll never know if we get canceled or renewed. Obviously it's already renewed, I believe. So, for example, with that thing with the D Creator, remember D Creator and the whole Nernheim thing? I was like, that could have been like a freaking another arc, and then for another season, as opposed to something that takes them away from finding Niles or Chief. Um, the same thing with today's episode, the whole thing with uh, the the Bureau of Normalcy. Now, I haven't read, again. I did not grow up reading. I did not grow up reading Doom Patrol. So those of you who did could let me know whether or not this Bureau of Normalcy, if they play a big part in the whole mythology of Doom Patrol. And if that's the case, then they could have like have a season just about the agents of Bureau of Normalcy hunting down Doom Patrol or whatever, right? But no, the writers are like, you know what? Let's just incorporate that right now in this one episode. Instead of finding Niles, instead of finding Chief, I kid you not. Even like by the end of today's episode, when you know they pretty much applies a beatdown. They apply a beatdown on the Bureau of Normalcy. Let's just put it that way. Even after all that, Vic and Larry come to Danny. It's like, hey, can you help us find Niles? He's been taken by Mr. Nobody. And Danny's response is like, "Oh, Mr. Nobody, I don't want to mess with that. Mr. Nobody is freaking powerful, man. He's gonna hurt the people I love here in this club. I can't let that happen." So I'm like, dude, you would think that after all that help that Vic and Larry gave in today's episode, um, I'm like, at least Danny would give something more significant. So this whole thing with finding Niles lingering over them, it's getting further and further away by each episode. Um, so yeah, the I don't know if that is a strategy that's intentional on the writer's part. To like, okay, instead of waiting to put this in season two, let's just put it here. Um, this arc deals with acceptance, deals with embracing one's identity. It deals with social justice. So it's a very social justice warrior plot line, if you will. Um, and about the trans queer, finally fighting back, pushing back against bigotry that's represented by the Bureau of Normalcy. So again, it has nothing to do with Mr. Nobody. It barely has nothing to do with Dr. Niles, Chief. Apparently, Danny knows Dr. Niles, but that's about it. Yeah, I knew Dr. Niles. So, but is it an interesting plot line? Yes. So I'm not like annoyed by it. I think it's cool watching freaking Matt Bomer sing again. Um, it's cool to it's more it speaks more, this spotlight speaks more to Larry Trainer than Vic. So that's another exploration of a character, existential soul journey that this show offers. Okay, so let's get to the second plot line of this episode. The second one revolves around Crazy Jane. So she has 64 personalities. One of them takes the steering wheel um, in this episode, and her name happens to be Karen. Now, Karen is peculiar. She loves romantic comedies. I believe Rita Farr said that Karen likes 90s romantic comedy. But I think at one point she is emulating Say Something, and I think that's an 80s movie. So I don't know if that's a detail that the writers kind of like, oh man, we forgot about that. But it's very minor. I'm not gonna get my shorts up in a bunch because of that. So Karen loves romantic comedy, and Karen has this power to uh, put people under her spell. So this guy named Doug, Karen wants to be with him, and for the first half of the plot line, Doug's family is against Doug marrying Karen. But once the debate gets heated, uh, Karen like, you know what, screw this. I'm just gonna put you guys under my spell as well. And she does the same thing to Rita Farr because Rita's been pushing back. It's like, no, Rita, come on, Karen, come on, bring back Jane, bring back Hammerhead. Karen, every time you're in control of Jane, this happens again, and you break this guy's heart, and it starts over again. Like, so Rita tells Robot Man like Karen's the worst out of the 64, and she's right because uh, 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 Karen has this power to you know seduce you to do things against your will, and it's not like Kilgrave from Jessica Jones. It's not like to murder someone or whatnot, although she probably can, but it's more like to serve her obsession with romance. And in this one, Crazy Jane has blonde hair and everything, and like she looks like one of the characters from Grease. Oh my gosh, she looks so hilarious. And that plot line ends with, I kid you not, I tweeted this, and I think the Doom Patrol writers Twitter handle kind of retweeted it, that there is the sunken place from Get Out. Remember the Get Out movie, the sunken place, where Daniel Kaluuya kind of like floats down into the abyss or oblivion. Um, it happens to Crazy Jane. So I tweeted like, "Oh, today's Doom Patrol episode has Get Out's The Sunken Place," and they kind of like or retweeted that one. Um, so it ends with that. It ends with Robot Man interfering, and of course Rita Farr interfering as well. You know what? Again, as I implied earlier, even though this has nothing to do with finding Dr. Niles, he's still missing. But learning about this one interesting character out of the 64 personalities that Crazy Jane has, it amuses me. It entertains me. Karen cracks me up. She reminds me of a lot of psycho girlfriends out there, or psycho women out there who just like so needy and clingy. And if you cross her, and she'll be like, "Oh, what are you doing? Like, who are you to tell me that I can't be with my boyfriend?" Something like that. You've come across those people, right, before in real life. So, and freaking Diane Guerrero, the actress, man, a thousand kudos to her. She plays these multiple personalities thing effortlessly, including Karen. Like, she really convinces you that she is this valley girl, ditzy, kind of like, oh, I just want romance, I just want to be happy. Can I get a hug? You've seen a lot of movies out there about multiple personalities, right? Like the Fight Club. What else? Identity. Remember that the thriller Identity. Um, Primal Fear. So I can name you a thousand more if I remember them right now, but nothing quite as addictive and intoxicating and intriguing as Crazy Jane, because she can just like switches she can switch from one character to the next in a matter of split seconds, and Diane Guerrero would be like on top of that shit, man. No problem at all. And so fantastic actress. I hope in the middle or in between of the break or hiatus of filming the next season of Doom Patrol that Diane Guerrero would get cast in some other gigs or other TV shows or other projects or limited series, what have you, because she is one talented cookie, man, one talented cat. Um, Obviously, with Robot Man, it continues again today. Cliff Steele feeling apologetic to Crazy Jane for what happened last week's episode. Robot Man continues to have this yearning to be a father to a daughter, because remember, he doesn't have his daughter anymore, um, or his daughter has moved on. So he's like, I feel his pain, man, because he's like, wow, there's this young teenage girl, Crazy Jane. I guess I can be a father figure to her. But Crazy Jane is not your typical girl, so she's not gonna just like she's not just gonna be like, oh, all right, I'll be your daughter figure to you. I was like, no, no. So there's still that struggle with regards to Robot Man, and I feel his pain, man. I feel his sadness, man. Can you imagine? I don't have a daughter, but if you're not able to see your daughter ever again, um, that must really hurt. Must really hurt any parent. So overall, in this episode, again, it takes us away from Finding Niles. Today's episode 8. So there are two episodes left. Episode 9 and 10. Excuse me, my nose is running. I don't know why here. I apologize. There are 2 episodes left. Um, so we'll see if next week's episode is gonna be another story about some other peculiar bizarreness and another personality of Crazy Jane or what have you, or if they're gonna finally team up as a group. Because the thing is, I totally understand why this whole distractions. Um, Part of it, or a big part of it, is that they don't have a solid lead, as to where Niles is. Like, when you're investigating something, or if you've seen a detective show, there's a lead. The lead can get cold or lead can get hot, but you follow that lead. And for Doom Patrol, it's always been more of winging it. You're like, oh, that donkey might point us in the right direction. Oh, that paw might, oh, what about this? They don't have a they don't have a clue, or they don't have a real solid lead, and I feel bad for them. By the end of today's episode, though, uh, it suggests that Victor comes across this, I think, book that supposedly Danny kind of, hey, look over there, Um, so that might end up being a helpful tool, but we'll see if it is a helpful tool or not. Uh, there's 2 episodes left. 2 episodes left, so they better, get it cranking, man. The writers were like, hey, come on, give the audience, give the people what they want. They want to see a team up. They want to see fight scene. Um, Make it happen. Make it happen. Make it happen. Make it happen. So yeah, I still love the show though. Freaking A, man. I still love it. It feels like watching the 6 feet under. Remember that HBO show 6 feet under back in 2001, 2005. Um, it's about that. It's like the Fisher family, the funeral family, and you get to see every one of them. Sometimes they collide, they clash. Sometimes you just see each of them wrestling their personal demons. So this kind of reminds me of 6 Feet Under in a way, with the whole Niles thing, being the umbrella. Yeah, I love it. Another fantastic episode on DC Universe. So that's it. That's my long rant, my rambling, my review of Doom Patrol Season 1, Episode 8. I will now head down to Burbank for a special event. I can't tell you what it is, so make sure you follow me when I'm when they tell me like, "Hey, Rama, you can tell everybody now what this event is." When they say that to me, I'll definitely tell you, and I will post it on whatever social media or whatnot. So make sure you follow me on Twitter. That's Rama Screen with two S, RAMASSCREEN. If you are very very curious as to what it is that I'm attending this evening, okay? And of course, subscribe to this channel. Tell everybody and their grandma about this channel. Press that like button, ring that bell, and if you can help support Rama Screen, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. I need your help, guys. I can't do this by myself. So every dollar counts. $2 per month can go a long way. Can go a long way. So every little help helps. So patreon.com/ramascreen. See you there. Okay, let's rock this.